Hey VC, Big Star 1000, with a new installment of Gimme Ten. And this week we will talk about the world of Baroque Pop, or is it Baroque Pop? Whichever pronunciation you want to use, but I'll tend to say Baroque because that's what I hear most of the time. Um, and I've done a double installment on Psych Pop, and it was I think it was a sensible idea to continue because a lot of the psych pop, at least the vintage one, the 60s, 70s, are crossover records. You look at something like Odyssey and Oracle, it could be classified as a Baroque pop record or a psych pop record. Same with Sagittarius or the Millennium. So um, the style itself, Baroque pop, is a style that emerged in the 1960s around 1966, 67. And the distinctive feature is obviously the orchestration, or at least some form of orchestral arrangements layered to sort of bring out the music. And when you think of, at least when I think of Baroque music from, Baroque classical music, I think of Bach, for example, and the first thing that comes to my mind is a harpsichord, and clavichord and harpsichord, and we'll see in this list that it's an instrument that is used quite frequently on these records. Um, so without further ado, because I've been talking for 2 minutes, I will start. And the granddaddy of all Baroque pop records, in my opinion, is Pet Sounds, which is an undisputed masterpiece and testimony to its sole creator, Brian Wilson. Um, Marks a significant departure from the jovial sound of surf music into serious music. And the way he composed this, and the staggering number of musicians, and the intricacies of the music just speak volumes to the brilliance hidden in there. Um, I'm not a fan of Sloop John B, for example, but when you hear Caroline No, the closer, I mean that's just pure genius. Wouldn't be nice. I'm waiting for the day. Just an excellent record featuring also people like Carol Kay on bass, the Wrecking Crew. Just a stunning piece of music from 1966, and obviously, I wouldn't start it any other way. Um, the second record I've chosen for this list is a record by the Bee Gees, a record called Odessa. And interesting enough, I went for a dig at a record fair last Sunday with Campo and James Buttery and Christian and Andrew Champsan, and I upgraded my copy because this is my copy that I've had for about 12 years, and I found one with the velvet cover, which is the iconic one, and so I just couldn't resist. It's a beautiful record. Um, if you know the Bee Gees as the Staying Alive band, obviously if that's all you know, you would be in for a big surprise with Odessa. Odessa is a concept album, and it's verging between Baroque pop, psych pop, and a little bit of progressive pop as well. You would say the songs are all they're played and arranged by the Bee Gees themselves, the brother Gibbs, and yeah, follow a loose thread of a story which I couldn't recount here, but I highly recommend this album. It's and the title track Odessa is a wonderful start if if you want to know more about this record, but very highly recommended record. Um, Next is again an undisputed masterpiece, and I think this is a record that everybody should hear and own. And I'm talking about One Year by Colin Blunstone. So last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle, and this is practically a Zombies record again. It features Rod Argent and Colin Blunstone, who were the two leaders of the Zombies. This is so incredibly catchy. It's just, I mean, it's sick, really. I mean, the amount of melodies there are in there, and I urge you to listen to. Well, I was talking about Caroline No in the Beach Boys, and Caroline Goodbye is the track that I always go for because it's such a brilliant piece of music. It's unmatched, really. But just about everything is memorable on this record. Every track is memorable. His vocals are just so sweet, and they're pitched just at the right level of toughness as well. They're sweet and there's a hardness as well that's in there when you hear songs like Caroline Goodbye, for example. It's just a beautiful record. I would highly recommend you to listen to this record. It's brilliant. To me, it's just as good as Odyssey and Oracle in some ways. And I would go and play this more often. Um, Next one is an absolute delight by one of the founding members of the Velvet Underground. I'm talking about John Cale, Paris 1919. Probably his most Baroque records. Notably on the title track, Paris 1919 is very heavily orchestrated, but this is a delight from start to finish. Endless Plane of Fortune, Child's Christmas in Wales, which is the opening song, Half Past France. Just a beautiful record, and just again very highly recommended. All songs written by John Cale, and this was recorded in California, which is very fitting because those kind of sunny psych records tend to sound better when they come from there. Next, again, these records are all masterpieces in my opinion. I can't, I'm not going to say this is better than this or that, but this record here is a stunning album. It's the first record by English songwriter Bill Fay, and it's completely bewitching and mesmerizing. I like both of his first records equally. I think Time of the Last Persecution is probably my just about my favorite, but not by much. This is just absolutely beautiful from start to finish, and it is a classic example of a Baroque pop record. The orchestration is amazing. It's done by Michael Gibbs, who also made some UK jazz records under his own name. But I mean, Garden Song. We have Lady. Just all, just everything. Just it just there's. I don't think there's standout track. They're all standout tracks. They're brilliant record. It's a record for a lifetime, in my opinion. Like something that you would listen to when you're 20, 30, 40, 50 and still just go, wow, it's amazing. The next album is probably the very definition of Baroque pop. And it's the Left Bank US band. I think they were from California. I'm not sure from memory. You can look it up. Or from New York, perhaps. Possibly from New York. I don't know. I can't remember. My mind is a sieve. You can look it up. What counts is the music in the end. So the standard tracks, obviously, are Walk Away Renee and Pretty Ballerina, which is what the record is named after. But this being said, the whole record is an absolute scorcher. There's just some, and I was talking about harpsichord before in the intro. This is just replete with tons of really amazing harpsichord parts. There's a song which names eludes me now, but it's got this beautiful harpsichord intro. And when I was listening to it, I kept thinking, it's a sort of thing that you would hear in 90s hip hop. The kind of samples that you would that were extracted from these kinds of records. Yes. So Walker Ronnie from 1960, I think 1967. Um, it's even the back blurb says for some time it has been apparent that there is an affinity between today's beat music and the music of the Baroque. Note that the truly exciting recent developments in popular music coincided with a highly significant revival of interest in the Baroque style among serious music buffs. Says it all. Next is a wonderful English record that again everybody should own. It's a cheap record, and you can find it anywhere, and you should have it. It's the Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues, featuring the London Symphony Orchestra. Well, this looks like a classical record. Not only is it a little bit of a classical record, but it looks like one. Obviously, the Moody Blues are well known to all of you. I think they're a massively underrated band. I think that any well-advised collector should own those records. That a question of balance to our children, etc. On the threshold of a dream. Every good boy deserves favor. I mean, it really all these records are amazing, and this is probably my favorite record of the Moody Blues simply because it's brilliant. And forget about Nights in White Satin because I mean everybody knows Nights in White Satin. But I would urge you, if you want an absolutely amazing sample of this record, listen to The Sunset. See, side 2. Track 2. It's kind of an oriental melody which is instantly memorable with a beautiful open drum as well. It's kind of it's just I don't know that very many people would stop at that song, but it's amazing. Moody Blues, the band formed by Justin Hayward. So yes, almost there. Was it 11 minutes? That's good. 3 more records. The next one is an obscurity which is just about impossible to get these days, and I was lucky to score this copy, but it's a reissue, obviously. And this is Billy Nichols. Would you believe? And sorry for this horrible flap opening noise. Again, an English record from 1968, and this was reissued in 2006 or 7, which is when I got it. I got this back then, and you'd be hard pressed to get a copy of this now. My copy was numbered 936 out of 1,000. And this is one of his cult releases on the Immediate label, which is the label that features the Small Faces. In fact, this record has all of the Small Faces, just about, plus Caleb Quaye, plus a lot of other people. Ronnie Lane, Steve Marriott, Ian McLagan, Big Jim Sullivan, Caleb Quaye, Nicky Hopkins, and even John Paul Jones featured on this. I think even John Paul Jones engineered this. Yes. So you've got the cream of the crop. This guy he was trying to make an English version of Pet Sounds, and to an extent, he succeeded. This version has got like lots of extra tracks. The title track is amazing, would you believe? But I'd say, there's not, it's like the other albums I've shown you. You can listen to the whole thing and be suitably blown away. So what happened with this is that they were going to release it, and they decided to pull the plug for a reason or another. I forget why, but in the end, it was released in very, very, very small quantities. Maybe like a couple of hundreds or something, or something like that. And um, as a result, it's very difficult to find obscurity, but it's a great record. The Beatles' favorite singer, and for good reason. I mean, Nielsen is amazing, and nobody should dismiss Nielsen. I think all of his early records are just worth listening to, in my opinion. Aerial Ballet is its most Baroque one, without question. It's I think an original US press, this copy here. And it features, amongst other things, Everybody's Talking, which, everybody knows. But again, just a beautiful, beautiful record from start to finish. Very lush and very orchestrated. Um, really worth tracking down because it's cheap, and you just get this easily, and it's fantastic LP. And to finish with, I have a marvelous, marvelous piece of music, cover art, everything. And this is Scott Walker, the blonde angel, part of the Walker Brothers, kind of a pop hit machine, which then decided to go solo. And Scott Walker, his first four albums, Scott 1, 2, 3, 4 are just absolute must-haves. This one is just a lovely, lovely record. And I love Scott Walker because I love Jacques Brel. And Scott Walker was obviously very, very fond of Jacques Brel, and he covers some of his songs every time. And here we've got, like, for example, Funeral Tango, which is a beautiful Jacques Brel song. This is the inside of the gatefold. The other way. So yes, Gimme 10, Baroque Pop in 15 minutes or more. I hope you enjoy this VC, and next week I am going to do a modern take on Baroque Pop, and it will be more on something like chamber pop, because Baroque Pop these days is a rare thing. I think artists don't have, we no longer have the money to make those kinds of, absolutely bombastic and, expansive records. It's a thing of the past, I think. Anyway, on these words, see you next week.